Welcome to the Profit First for Lawyers Get Started page. I am Christopher Anderson. I'm the CEO of Profit First for Lawyers, and I've put this page together for you to answer a lot of the questions that some people ask us when they first encounter Profit First for Lawyers. They basically want to know, what is it and how can it help me and how can it help my business? So we put together this little presentation for you to answer, I think, the most important ones of those questions. And of course, if we missed any, at the end of it, you can certainly book an appointment to speak to me or a member of my team, and we'll answer more. But for now, please enjoy the presentation. I will have some more comments at the very end for you to help you along as to what your next steps will be. But first, the presentation. So one of the things that we run into, or several of the things we run into as we present Profit First for Lawyers at bar associations, CLEs, and other presentations around the country, is that the lawyers that we meet are very interested in understanding more about what is Profit First for Lawyers. I mean, that's what they want to talk about. What is Profit First for Lawyers? And when we have that conversation with them, they then want to figure out how to get started, because they understand, it doesn't take much of getting into it for everybody to understand that this is a very powerful way to get deeper relationships with your clients, to set up a more profitable business for yourself, and to have more profitable clients, which of course helps you as well. So what does that mean? How does that work? Is what they want to know. What does Profit First for Lawyers work? Well, at the end of the day, what it really is bringing us back to the future, to borrow a term, because it's not that long ago when lawyers and their clients had a very different relationship. They had a relationship that was one where the attorney was considered a trusted advisor to the business, and attorneys held themselves out to be attorneys and counselors at law. And that's what Profit First for Lawyers is really all about, being an attorney and counselor at law. It's about revisioning our business, or at least revisioning it back to a relationship that we used to have. And that made a lot more sense back then. And when I talk about revision, I'm talking about seeing the business again for the first time. Something I learned when I had to repeat, or not repeat, but do a freshman English class as a senior, because I misunderstood that my AP English credits did not apply to exempt me from a freshman English. And the director of the program offered me a subject, a class that would be valuable to me, even though I'd written thousands of pages at the university already. And I was really excited to take it. And what she taught was the revision was revision, seeing again, seeing with fresh eyes, seeing from a fresh perspective. And that's what I want to do with our businesses, with the practice, with the business of law, in two fundamental ways. One is truly fundamental to all business. It's being able to revision, to re-see our business in a way that maybe we never did, or maybe we did a long time ago, but we've lost sight of. But the business, our law firm is a business, and a business is supposed to provide us with the means to live our life the way that we want to live it. And the second fundamental way is to recast our role with our clients as attorneys and counselors at law. To use our business as a vehicle to live life the way we want to live it requires first that we define that. How do we want to live our lives? And then how can we structure our business, not just to give us the money we need to live life the way we want to live it, but to give us the time, to give us the professional success that we want to achieve. How can the business be structured and planned to do that for us? And then, of course, how can we do the same for our clients? Because if we can do the same for our clients, that's how we can be the counselor at law. That's how we can be the trusted advisor. And Profit First is about going back to the future, going back to when we would hold ourselves out that way, when we would focus on our clients holistically, when we understood that our successful clients were better clients for us, where we cared enough to ask about their hopes, their dreams, their wishes, and their goals repeatedly, and then hold them accountable to those. And listen, as much as I'd like to, think about that as the good old days, because it wasn't all that long ago. It was before I practiced law, when we started to move towards a transactional model, that was caused by our relationship with insurance companies, by the bill of hour, and by a lot of other factors. We moved to become more transactional, and we lost this ability, or we lost some of this cachet of really having a relationship, of being the trusted advisor in our clients' businesses. But in saying that, I don't want to suggest that it was altruistic, right? I don't want to suggest that we were doing that out of the goodness of our hearts, or because we wanted this, kumbaya moment of a more holistic relationship. It was because we fundamentally understood that healthy clients were better long-term clients, that keeping a great client was a lot less expensive than acquiring new ones. And those truths are still true today. And what being profit first is all about, which is kind of funny because, when people talk about profit first, one of the things they say, one of the objections they have, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this now and more about it in a minute, is exactly that problem is, um, you know, this is a noble profession. The law is a noble profession. Shouldn't it be clients first, not profits first? Yes, it should be. I agree 100%. But profit first is clients first. Profit first is helping our clients make a profit by working with us. Profit first is making decisions and representing our clients to the best of our ability and bringing the best us to that relationship, thereby profiting them in doing business with us. And I'll talk more about that later. The fundamentals of profit first is throwing out what a lot of people consider to be the normal way of thinking. The normal way of thinking that's been introduced by the misuse of a tool that was meant for seeing in the past, and using it instead as a planning tool. But so before we get to what we shouldn't be doing, let's talk about what is the normal way of thinking that we need to be getting away from, right? The normal way of thinking goes something like this, right? You have a business, you have a law firm, you have your law firm. And unless it's just a hobby, a business requires some revenues to come in. So you got revenues coming in. And then from those revenues, you got to pay for the things you got to pay for to run the office, right? You got to pay the rent, you got to pay the utilities, you got to pay the payroll, you got to pay for marketing, you got to pay for all these things. Then you got to pay for stuff that you really should be paying for to make your people more profitable, right? You got to pay for equipment and for training and for software. You got to pay for janitorial services. You got to pay for someone to clean up the office at the end of the day. You got to pay for coffee. You got to pay for toner. You got to pay for paper. You got to pay for paper clips. You got to pay for things that make the employees happy, right? Pay for their parking, pay for health insurance, pay for some perks, pay for the Christmas party, pay for the decorations for the Christmas party. And then represented at the bottom of this little funnel here is that little coin of profit that might be left over. And that's for you. You come after paper clips. You come after toner. You come after that one glass of wine too many that the paralegal had at the Christmas party, and maybe the mess you had to clean up after. Then you, hopefully, right? And that's not the way it was meant to be. So how did we get there? We got there through the misuse of a very old tool, right? In the ways of generally accepted accounting principles, which I am not here to talk to you about. I'm not an accountant, and I'm not going to speak for or against the merits of generally accepted accounting principles. What I am talking about is the misuse of this tool by a vast majority of lawyers, of law firm owners, of small business owners, that misapplied this tool. And what is this tool that's been in use for since general ledgers, since paper ledgers? What do I mean by this? That tool is the income statement, also known as a profit and loss statement. And there's nothing wrong with this tool, right? It's a great way to look at what happened. You had income, then you had to pay for costs of goods sold and dynamic overhead and static overhead, all those expenses. And you took the income, you subtract the expenses, and at the end of the day, you had a net profit. Again, it's what was left over. That's a great way to report on what happened in a business. We can really understand the business well that way. It was never meant to be used as a planning tool. But look, It looks good and easy to use. There's an income, there's expenses, there's net profit. So when we make a budget, let's just use the same format. And you know what? It's an okay way to budget. You can see your budget well. The only problem is that puts in your mind the wrong way of thinking, right? In your budget, then you plan for all these revenues, and then there'll be these costs of goods sold and these expenses, and then there'll be the profit. And you look at the budget, and like a lot of people look at that budget and they say, okay, it works. We're in the black. We're not losing money. And they thumbs up. But they forgot to ask the question, how much profit were we meaning to get out of this thing? Because the profit's last. The profit's at the bottom where it doesn't belong, right? You should be thinking about the profit first, because the main question is, what was the business supposed to do for me? But we use this tool wrong, and we get into this mindset that profit's what comes last. Profit's what comes out the bottom. Profit is the bottom line. Profit puts you the last dog at the bowl, which was the meaning of that wonderful slide there with the last dog at the bowl, right? So the profit comes last. No, the profit should come first. So what I'm talking about with profit first is just a new, which ain't that new, way of thinking about your business. So let's talk this through. Let's imagine $1 million business. Now, your law firm might be $50,000, $100,000. Your law firm might be $10 million. But just to make the math easy, let's talk about a nice round number, a $1 million revenue law firm. Now, last year, according to the profit and loss statement or the income statement, there was $100,000 of profit. Yay, we had profit. Now, in my example, I'm going to talk about a firm that had profit. Profit first also works if you didn't. And that's a different way of talking about it. And I will be training you about that in the certification. I won't spend a lot of time in the presentation. We'll make the presentation about twice as long. And I don't want to do that to you, but just understand if it was negative profit, we could deal with that too. But in this law firm, $1 million of revenue, $100,000 of profit. What's that profit margin? Well, the margin is the profit divided by the revenues. So in this case, it's 10%, right? 100,000 over $1 million, 10% profit margin. And so, at the end of the year, at the bottom line, there was $100,000 or 10%. That means that the other 90% of the revenues went to pay for owner's compensation, went to pay for taxes, went to pay for marketing, and went to pay for all the other overhead, salaries, rent, utilities, paper clips, all that, owner's comp, taxes, and all of our overhead out of the 90%, right? And the 10% was profit. So all profit first says is, hey, you were able to do all those other things at a 90%, and you had 10% left over. So instead, let's just say you can still have the 90% to run the whole business, but we're going to take the profits off the top and put them to the side in a separate bank account. That's it. That's it. We're not going to change anything about the business when we first start using profit first. We're just going to change the way we think about it. And you were able to run the business on 90% before. You should be able to run the business on 90% now, right? But why stop there? Once we're being disciplined and setting money aside, let's set the important things aside. So we said that the owner, well, we didn't say yet, but we said one of the things that paid for was owner's comp. In this example, let's say also we pay the owner $100,000 in salary, right? That's the owner's compensation, $100,000 in salary. So we pay the owner $100,000 in salary. And we had $100,000 in profit from before. So we know, let's go back one. Well, we'll leave that there. We know that we were able to run the business on, after profits, $100,000, and after the owners were paid $100,000, the $800,000 went to taxes, which is showing here, went to marketing, and went to all the other overhead that I described before. You were able to do all those things, the taxes, the marketing, and all the other overhead on 80% before. We're going to do it on 80% now. We're just going to take that first 10% and the second 10% and set them aside. Nothing's changed, just a little bit of discipline. And then the same thing for taxes, which are here now, right? So the taxes, we're going to do the same thing. One of the biggest bugaboos of business owners is not having the tax money set aside and having to scramble for the taxes when they come due. Well, we're going to set them aside. So let's say in this theoretical law firm, we had $100,000 of profits, $100,000 of owner's comp. That's $200,000 more or less that the owner's probably going to have to pay taxes on. And let's say in this law firm that I'll overpay the taxes. Let's say they're going to owe 30% on those. So $20,000, they're going to owe 30%. That's $200,000. They're going to owe 30%. That's $60,000. And let's just say that there are other taxes the firm's going to need to pay: property tax, business tax, miscellaneous tax, stamp tax, your local tax, whatever. Let's say that's another $40,000. So the total taxes are going to be $100,000. That's 10%. Let's set that aside. If it was 6%, we'd set 6% aside, but we're trying to make the math easy. So we're going to set that 6% aside, or 10% aside. Profits, owner's comp, and taxes. It's what it was last year, right? The business had to pay 10% in taxes last year. It's going to pay 10% in taxes this year. Yes, the business is going to pay or set aside the owner's portion of taxes. Why not? So before last year, the business operated on, it was able to pay the profits, owner's comp, and taxes the same as before. And then what was left over, the 70%, paid for the marketing and all the other overhead, right? So it can do that now. Well, I say, let's set aside the marketing too. We'll set aside the marketing at, let's say, 5%. And the business, because that's what it spent last year. It spent 5% last year. And then all the other overhead, it was able to account for on the 65%, right? 100% of revenues minus 10% of profits, 10% of owner's comp, 10% of taxes, that's 30%. 5% of marketing is 35%. That left 65% left over. So out of the million, the rest of the overhead was $650,000 last year. What's left over after we set aside the profits, the owner's comp, and the taxes and the marketing is $650,000. You're able to run the business that way last year. You can run it that way this year. What's changed? I want to say nothing's changed, but something significant has changed. What's changed is your discipline. What's changed is your mindset, that you came first and the operating expenses, the business expenses, came last, because it's not a job, it's a business. It works for you, not the other way around. So 65% operating expenses. Now, what you're going to say, or what you might be saying, is, well, that's, all well and good, except there's good months and there's bad months, but the rent and the overhead and the utilities, they keep coming month after month after month. And if I take all this stuff off the top, that's going to be bad. Yeah. What doing it this way does is it enforces reality. It enforces a disciplined way of thinking. It enforces business maturity. It enforces you thinking about, bad months and good months aren't a force of nature, a fact of nature. There's something you allow to happen in the business. And when you've got only 65% operating expenses, they're going to hurt you in the operating expenses, right? Now, we can set aside some reserves. We can talk about how to do that, but they're going to hurt you in the operating expenses. Also, when you want a new copier, you want to make a new hire, you want to expand the office space, and you have that $650,000 budget, you've got to make one of two choices, right? When the $1 million is sitting around, sometimes you just spend it, right? And then that's why you're scrambling for taxes. That's why you cut marketing. That's why the owner goes without pay. That's why the profits are down. But when you have your budget of $650,000, you've got to make a mature business decision. One, is there any waste we can cut? I think that's always a good thing to look at. Is there any waste we can cut? But don't get trapped into lack thinking. Don't get trapped into thinking, oh, shoot, there's $650,000. If I want that, I got to cut something else. No, you don't. All you have to do is raise the revenues. You raise the revenues, and 65% of that keeps coming down. And you can afford whatever you need to afford, but you just make this smart, mature business decision that in order to have it, you've got to raise the revenues. Now, let's say that over time, you're not happy with 10%, and you shouldn't be happy with 10% of profits. Let's say you want to move it to 20%. Well, we have some rules around profit first to say we try not to move the profits more than 1% per quarter. So let's say in the first year, we'll move it to 15%. I'll stretch it a little, right? To 15%. Well, where's that going to come from? We're going to reduce the owner's pay? No. We're going to tell Uncle Sam that they'll have to take half the taxes? No. Should we cut the marketing? No. So where's it going to come from? It's going to come out of operating expenses. So if profits go to 15, operating expenses are going to go to 60. 65 minus 5, 60. wait a second, we were barely making ends meet last year, right? Last year, the operating expenses were 650. How can we cut it to 600? I didn't say anything about cutting it to 600. I said you have to cut it to 60%. Now, you could do that by finding ways to making some mature business decisions, and I certainly encourage you to do that. But all you have to really do now is raise the revenues to say, let's say $1.2 million, 20% growth of a law firm, which we know when you use this kind of tool, isn't that hard to accomplish. You grow the law firm to $1.2 million, and all of a sudden 60% is $720,000. You've got $70,000 more in operating expenses, right? And the marketing went up, and the taxes went up, and the owner's comp went up, and the profits went up because you brought in more revenues. All boats were lifted. That's profit first. Making smart decisions to get you the results that you want, not working for the business. Making those changes quarter by quarter by quarter. And that's what we teach you to do in the Profit First certification. And, not for nothing, this is brilliant, but it's not revolutionary, right? This is the way your grandmother ran the household in the 1930s, 1940s, maybe more recently than that, right? She had envelopes. And when the money came in once a week, once every 2 weeks, money went in the food envelope, money went in the rent envelope, money went in the clothes envelope. And that way, she knew how much she had in each envelope to run the household. And if one ran out, you still had, if you ran out of clothing money, you still had the food money, and she knew how to dole that out. And if it's just, it's a smart way to keep the envelopes separate and to set aside the taxes. So when tax time came, there wasn't a problem. To set aside, in this case, in the household, to set aside the rent. So when the rent came due, it was there, right? Same thing with your profit, same thing with your owner's comp, because the rent was due to the landlord. Well, you're the landlord, right? And the rent is due when the rent is due. And that's how you should treat yourself. All right. So the second revision was about revisioning your role as counselor at law, as trusted advisor to your clients. Well, how does this fit with Profit First? Well, I think I want to point you then to the motto, right? To the tagline of Profit First, which is profitable clients, profitable you, profit first. What do we mean by profitable clients? Well, if you work with your clients to understand their hopes and dreams, and I'll talk to you about that in a moment, then you can help them using Profit First to turn their business into a machine that works for them. It delivers them the profits, delivers them the time, delivers them the professional satisfaction that they want so that they become more profitable. What I mean, and this isn't just for business lawyers, by the way. If you have any clients that own businesses, what you can do for them is to help them focus on what the business is supposed to provide for them, because they can have it. And you make them more profitable by giving them back more than what they put in the business, by helping them build the business, by supervising them building the business so that it gives them back more than they put in. That's what owning a business is. That's the business working for you. If, we've all had experiences, or maybe most of us have had experiences where we've been places where we've given more value than we got in pay. That's called a job, right? And when you opened your law firm, you were not doing that, or you shouldn't have been doing that to give yourself a job. You should be doing that to give yourself a business that works for you. So that's profitable clients. Profitable you, is all about being the lawyer your clients want you to be. The median income for a single shareholder lawyer in the United States is $49,100. $49,100. I promise you that you may be, and I will assume that you are, the most ethical person in the world, that you would never put your interests ahead of your clients' interests. But if you're making, as 50% or more of the lawyers, of the single shareholder law firm owners in the United States are, $49,100, you may not be putting your interests before the client, but they're there in the back of your mind. When the rent is past due, the mortgage is past due, you're worried about payroll. I'm sorry, you're not bringing the best version of you that you can to every transaction with your clients. When you're worried about payroll, making payroll at the end of this week, and there's an offer on the table, and if you reject the offer, the negotiation is going to continue another 30 or 60 days. It may not be conscious, but it's crossing It's in there. It's in the mix, right? And even if it isn't, when you're under that kind of stress and you're in a family law negotiation, or you're negotiating a merger and acquisition, or you're just writing contract terms, or you're doing an estate plan, you're not bringing the mindset, you're not bringing the best version of you to the table for your client. Your client, if given the choice, if they had full disclosure of your circumstances, wants you to be profitable, wants your business to be providing for you what you need, wants your business working for you. Profitable clients want profitable you. And that's what Profit First is all about. And let's remember, while we're talking about ethics, the model rules of professional conduct 2.1, right? When you represent a client, you are admonished by your bar that in rendering that advice, you should refer not just to the law, but other considerations like moral, economic, social, and political factors. Economics and social and moral, quite honestly, are what are involved here, right? It's making sure that you're looking at the whole of your client, including their hopes and their dreams and what they're trying to achieve. Now, I told you I'm not an accountant, and I'm not suggesting that you be an accountant either. What I'm talking about is you in your position as a trusted advisor, you as a lawyer to a client who happens to own a business. You have the best opportunity to see holistically, right? A lot of people say that the accountant could do what I'm talking about, and they could. The bookkeeper could do what I'm talking about, and they could. But they don't have the same moral authority with the client that the lawyer does, and they don't have the visibility into all the other opportunities and threats and possibilities and risks that the business owner is facing. You do. And that puts you in a position of being a captain of the team, so that when you sit down with a client, you can have a vision meeting about their future that's talking about what they want. You don't have to build the financial model to get there. You just need to know what they want, and you can get the numbers to be able to do the analysis, or help your team do the analysis for how profitable they are now and how they can get to where they want to go. But to crunch the numbers and really get to that final answer, you assemble the Profit First team. Now, this could be their current bookkeeper and accountant, or you will have access through Profit First for Lawyers to a nationwide network of Profit First bookkeepers and Profit First accountants that can work with the law firm, either replacing their current or being their current ones, that will help you to assess and plan for the future. And you have that vision meeting with the client, and then you assemble the team, and then you bring that entire plan to the client. And then month after month and quarter after quarter, you're meeting with the client and ensuring that they're on track. That puts you in a position of you're bringing great value to the client. And quite honestly, in doing that, embedding yourself more deeply in their business, making them more healthy, and getting a lot more work out of the business as well. In order to be in a place of credibility and integrity, when doing this with a client, in Profit First, we recommend, in fact, we kind of insist that you do it too. You got to eat your own dog food. That's the meaning of this slide. And we're going to help you. So we at Profit First for Lawyers, when you become a Profit First certified lawyer, we're going to talk to you about your hopes and dreams and goals. And we're going to put Profit First to work in your business to help get you there. And we're going to monitor your progress on that every month, every quarter, and make sure that you're able to hit your goals as well. And we'll do that using all the same tools that you'll be using. So we'll be modeling for you what you should be doing for your law firm. For your business clients, for your clients who are business owners. They don't have to be business clients. We have in Profit First for lawyers, we've got family lawyers, we've got estate planning lawyers, we've got intellectual property lawyers, and we have business lawyers. And they've all found a way to bring this to their clients. So the last thing that I said that people were interested in, that people would ask about is, okay, how do I get started? This sounds pretty fantastic. How does it really work, and how do I get started? So how does it really work? The business model is for you in the first year to go and find 50 in the year, right? Maybe bring it out to 4 a month, maybe more at first, but 50 in the first year of your current and former clients. And only after you run out of those to go out into, prospects that you'll have to go get out in the marketplace, right? But first bring it to your current and former clients. When you bring it to 50, of your current and former clients, that should bring you a business that's generating 300,000 or more in new direct gross revenues for your business at about $215,000 in profits. Meaning that what you need to spend on the legal time, either yours or an associate's, on the admin time, which is either an admin that you hire or you can outsource that, and the license fee for Profit First for lawyers. After all that, you still have $250,000 in new profits to your firm off those first 50 clients. And here's the real magic sauce, right? Because that profit margin, by the way, when you go past 50, that profit margin goes up and up and up. But the real magic here is the deeper relationship with your clients should bring another $300,000 to $600,000 in indirect revenue from them, making Profit First a very profitable undertaking for you. Those are the numbers. How do you get started? Well, first of all, to achieve your certification, you got to read Profit First. And after August of 2019, you got to read Profit First for Lawyers too. You got to come and attend a 2-day class where you learn how to implement Profit First in your firm. 1, how to create this new Profit First practice area that I've been talking about, which will teach you how to help your clients become more profitable themselves and position you as a captain of their team. And then finally, we'll teach you in this 2-day class also how to market and sell the Profit First service so that you can get new clients. In fact, our goal in the certification is for you to achieve at least the conversations that'll lead to new clients before you leave the certification. We get the process started right there, right then. And then we give you ongoing support to get new clients, ongoing support to service the clients, ongoing support in your own Profit First adventure, involving also a huge library of tools, some of them that we've created and a lot of them that come from Profit First professionals that are included in your license, including tools and documents for implementation, tools and documents for demonstration, tools and documents for marketing and sales. An immense library that's at your fingertips. And then finally, because remember, you're going to be bringing and assembling this team of Profit First professionals. Well, when we're doing that, some of them are going to be professionals that come from the Profit First professional team, and they're going to also generate a lot of referrals to you. So as they get to know you, as they know that you are a Profit First certified lawyer, they'll be sending you referrals because they know that their clients that they're working with, they're their bookkeeper, they're their accountant, will be more compliant, more consistent, and stay a client longer if they have a Profit First certified lawyer on their team. So they want to bring you in to be the captain of the team because they know that their team, their clients stay clients and are better clients for having you on board. So that's the presentation I wanted to bring to you. You should already be on the profitfirstlawyers.com/get started webpage. If you're not, go there. Feel free to check out the rest of the profitlawyers.com site as well. But on the Get Started page, if there's any questions I haven't answered or there's something you want to know more about, feel free to book an appointment on that page, and you'll speak to me or a member of my team, and we'll talk to you more about becoming a Profit First certified lawyer. If you know this is right for you already, then go ahead and schedule your certification, which you again can do right there on the page. And of course, you can sign up to get a copy of Profit First for Lawyers for yourself. I look forward to seeing you at the upcoming certification and or speaking to you on the phone soon. I wish you all the profit in the world. Talk to you soon.